Veterans Advisory Commission meeting. It's busy here at Bob Hope Patriotic Hall. We're not meeting in our normal room. We're on the second floor. And just want to say thanks to the director for making time to be here. We know that there's a lot of elected officials and folks here today. So with that being said, we'll get started with our Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll hand it to the Vice Chair.
So as you may recall, we have a new policy implementation called SAFE, which is to salute our armed forces every day. And it was a program requested by the Vietnam veteran community and previous commission chair. So this is where all active duty service members and veterans are asked to stand and be recognized at all public events where the flag is saluted. So in this, we would ask all your active duty members to stand and be recognized. Thank you so much. And then, okay. And then we will now, everybody can stand now. Thank you so much to all our active duty members. And we can now do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Appreciate it. We'll move on to our next agenda item. A few introductory remarks. Oh, I'm sorry. No, we have a roll call. I was on the wrong slide. Stephanie, when you're ready, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Crooks,
Here, ma'am.
Commissioner Palmero,
Present.
Commissioner Jackson Kelly,
Here.
Commissioner McFadden,
Present.
Chair Alman,
Present.
Commissioner Noyola, Commissioner Zato, Commissioner Gutierrez, and Commissioner Anderson.
Present.
Chair, you have a quorum.
Great. Thank you so much. Now we'll move to the approval of the minutes. So commissioners, if you could review your packets, there should be a copy of the minutes from last month, and we'll need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Vice Chair,
I second.
2 seconds. Thank you, commissioners. Commissioner Palmero seconded first for the record. And we'll begin a roll call vote to approve the minutes.
Chair Alman,
Approve.
Vice Chair McFadden, Commissioner Palmero,
Approved.
Commissioner Crooks,
Approved.
Commissioner Jackson Kelly, Commissioner Zato,
Approved.
Commissioner Gutierrez, and Commissioner Anderson.
Approve.
I'm sorry. I did have one correction. Sorry.
It's a big one.
Well, it has that I was appointed as a union representative, and that's not true.
Okay, well, we'll backtrack. There's a error found in the minutes. Commissioner, do you want to explain the error?
The error is that I was appointed representation by the West Los Angeles Medical Center by the American Legion Auxiliary. I was appointed by the American Legion Auxiliary, and I was appointed as the representative. Not the union representative.
Okay, so we'll have to do, I guess, a new roll call, a new motion, a new second with the amendment. So we'll need a motion. Vice Chair McFadden motions with the amendment. Commissioner Crooks seconds. And we'll do another roll call.
Chair Allman,
Approve.
Vice Chair McFadden, Commissioner Palmero,
Approved.
Commissioner Crooks,
Approve.
Commissioner Jackson Kelly, Commissioner Zato, Commissioner Gutierrez, Commissioner Anderson,
Approve.
We good? Okay. All right. Thank you so much. The minutes have been adopted. We'll move to the chair report. I like to begin every meeting with just a notice that the notice of meeting for today was sent on February 14th at 9:50 p.m. I'll discuss that a little bit later. I'm hoping for future notice of meetings, we can get it done during normal business hours. I think that that's may have had an impact on our public comment registration. So for Gov Delivery, if you didn't get the notification of our meeting, we highly suggest that you subscribe. If you go to the department's website, mva.lacounty.gov, if you look in the upper right of the website, you'll see the various social icons. There's the first icon is an envelope. If you click on that, you can get on the department's mailing list, which will include information about future commission meetings, as well as other department news. We're currently at 81 subscribers. We're trying to get the department to 100 YouTube subscribers. And the reason why that's important is because all of our commission meetings are posted on the YouTube channel. So if you want to look back at previous briefings, everything is on record there. We do have a little bit of housekeeping. It has been brought to our attention from Commission Services that the Commission has an annual reporting requirement. This goes back quite a few meetings. We had some discussion with legal counsel and then some follow-up with Commission Services. The issue for me, what I think is an issue, and I wanted to bring it up to you all, this commission is currently on a fiscal year reporting requirement. But our bylaws put us on a calendar year cycle. So that becomes complicated because you have, for example, 2 different chairs during that period as is. And so I'm wondering one of 2 things. Can we request Commission Services to change us from a fiscal year to a calendar year reporting cycle? That seems to be the case for some other commissions, or we have to change our bylaws. Sorry, what's that, Commissioner? Can you use?
Sorry, maybe easy to change the bylaws.
Might be. It becomes complicated because the supervisors don't change on a fiscal year calendar. They change on the calendar year. So I think it would be nice if we can ask Commission Services whether or not it would be possible to transition us from a fiscal year to a calendar year reporting commission. Commissioner, you had something to say?
I think that
Can you
would be much
use the mic?
I agree. I think that would be more feasible than us changing our bylaws.
Yes, and I also agree on the same line that we would be able to align with the supervisors under which we serve.
Commissioner, okay. Vice? Commissioner Gutierrez, you have any opinion on that? Okay. Commissioner Anderson, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I believe it should be on the calendar year, as is the supervisors.
Okay. I don't know if that's possible, but Director, do you think we can make a formal request to Commission Services just to inquire what's involved with that?
Yes.
Okay. And then once we get that sorted out, then I'll work with any of the past chairs to get us up to date on all of the annual reporting requirements. We did have some additional business, but I'm going to defer that to next meeting, discussion regarding our logo. And then I think we hold our bylaws discussion until we figure out more or what the options are from Commission Services. So with that, we'll go into our next agenda item, which are public comments. We have not had so little public comments in a long time. I think we were doing pretty well there for a while. And that's why I think it's important that we send the notice of meeting out maybe earlier in the day. I think if we send it out in the evening, it gets buried. And then the next day people, don't check it, as opposed to getting the email when potentially you're in front of your computer during business hours. So, or maybe nobody wants to talk to us. Could be one of the two. We'll see. But that's just a small observation I made. I mean, we're getting the information out there, but I think it's a matter of how we time it with, people being in front of their computer. And we don't have any walk-in comments today, do we? No walk-in comments. Okay, so that concludes public comment. We'll move to our next agenda item. And here, I will hand it off to Commissioner Jackson Kelly. Commissioner, you requested a dedication for Black History Month, and you found our speaker, Dr. Jewel Diamond Taylor. Thank you for being here. And so I'll let you provide some introductory remarks.
I could read Dr. Jewel Diamond Taylor bio, but we will be here for a while. So I just want you to know that she's a renowned speaker. She has traveled practically all over the world and spoken. She is a veteran advocate and has thoroughly supported our veterans program over the years. And we are just so honored to have her, especially at the amount of money that we are paying her to be here. So, she's doing it for free, and we really appreciate that. So Dr. Jewel Diamond Taylor.
Doctor, thanks again for being here. And when you start, I'll begin the timer. We have 15 minutes allocated for the presentation today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to thank you for your service. And I stand here in memory of my father and uncle who were in the U.S. Army. And I'm sure they'd be very proud of their little girl standing here. I'm excited because in 1976, President Ford wanted to acknowledge the contributions of Black America. And they decided on February, because it was the birth date of President Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass, who were forerunners in the freedom movement. So many people say, why February? And they wanted to correct history that has been so misrepresented. Black history has been demonized, diminished, marginalized, and denied. Black history will say that people of color were seen as profit and property, not people. They were seen as cargo and not citizens. They were demonized and not dignified. They experienced tremendous oppression and not opportunities. And I love what Malcolm X said. He said, just as a tree without roots is dead, a people without history or culture become a dead people. Something interesting happened to me 7 years ago. I became a grandmother. I became a weird grandmother. I loved collecting mementos. I love holding him and loving on him. And recently, when he was with me, made sure he had a bath. And when he left, his little footprints were in the tub. I didn't want to erase those footprints. I said I was a weird grandmother. And I thought that connects with the idea of Black history or any culture that wants to celebrate and remember their history. It's footprints. It's the footprints that have dissolved. It's remembering people that have gone before us to make it possible for where we are today. And it's about educating people. I've done Black History Month all over the nation. And it's always amazing to me that there's a low attendance. And I understand that because some people want to say, well, it's over. And, why are we talking about it? But we want to remember and celebrate, just as we remember and celebrate the sacrifices of people that are in the military. We don't ever want to forget their service. So what we don't know, we fear. And what we fear, we hate. And hatred becomes prejudice. And that's why the education is so important, that we get rid of the hatred and the division. History is important, but our goal is not to glorify the people or the facts. It's to motivate the younger generation that know nothing. They may know about Beyonce, they may know about raps and Usher and things that are going on in the world, but do they know whose shoulders they stand on? There was a woman who had no tracks and no trains and no cell phone and no GPS. Her name was Harriet Tubman, and she helped over 300 people have freedom with no GPS. It took a GPS for me to get here from Rancho Cucamonga. And I don't know what I would do if the Wi-Fi went out. All the places that I go, I rely upon it. So I just want to share a snippet of some Black history. Some of it you probably already know, but maybe you can share it with your children, your neighbors, your coworkers. Serena and Venus stand on the shoulders of Althea Gibson. She was the first African American to win the singles tournament in Wimbledon, England. Do you know about hush puppies? Hush puppies are made out of cornmeal and sugar. They're really, really tasty. But the history is that when slaves were being chased, they would have these hush puppies they would make and give them to the dogs that were howling to hush them so they could move into freedom. Dr. Shirley Ann Jackson, I thank her because sometimes I don't want to take certain phone calls. She created call waiting and caller ID. My father had cataract surgery, and I said, you got to remember to thank Dr. Patricia Bath. She invented the laser cataract surgery. We want to remember the Buffalo Soldiers and the Tuskegee Airmen. Black history is about remembering the unique U.S. Army Postal Battalion that had the distinction of being the only all African American female unit to send overseas in World War II. These women kept the mail flowing to nearly 7 million, I'm going to say that again, 7 million soldiers in England and France and Paris. They were there to clear up several years of backlogged mail. Can you imagine the soldiers not getting mail from their loved ones? That was their task. Tackling the task with excellence are African Americans in space. I had the privilege of meeting Mae Jemison. We excel in military, service, science, medicine, church, businesses, government, sports, technology, entertainment, law, politics, education, the arts, literature. They're activists and healers and excelling in media. There's Noah Harris, the first Black man to be elected to be the student body president at Harvard University. We celebrate Stacey Abrams and Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. We celebrate the former President Obama and the First Lady Michelle. But there's something that I found very interesting because we talk a lot about Dr. Martin Luther King and some of the most common heroes and sheroes, but I read about something that really fascinated me. And it's about the first African Baptist church that served the largest gathering place in Savannah, Georgia, for the Blacks and the whites to meet during the era of segregation. There were many whites that were advocating for freedom. And they would meet at this church in Savannah, Georgia. And if you go to that church today, you would still see the pipe organ, you'd see the baptismal pool, you would see all the light fixtures that have never been changed, you would see the solid oak pews. You would see that these enslaved church members, their art, their craftsmanship is still standing today. What's so interesting about this church is that it was a safe place for slaves to come. And they would hide there. They would hide underneath the floors and in the basement. But what they did was they would create something that was called a 9-patch quilt. And any place in that area that had 9 patches, it was known as a safe place. I have this 9-patch frame that I keep in my office because I create a safe place for women for emotional wellness, dealing with depression, dealing with anxiety, dealing with relationship issues, parenting, cancer. And creating a safe place is what this church was. They had 9 patches, but it wasn't the only location that had 9 patches. It was the first African Baptist church that used this for people going along the Underground Railroad. And when they saw those patches, they knew that they were in a safe place. This was a unique feature. And they would put holes in the floor. And the holes were in the shape of African symbols so that the slaves underneath the floors could breathe. And this symbol was from Congo. The pattern represented life, so it fit in the church because the church was about life. It was about creating a safe place. I would love to go there one day and tell my grandson about that that's part of our history, that we are resilient people, a beautiful people, an intelligent people, a strong people, and that there are still signs that are visible that we can actually tangibly touch so that our history is not erased. And so a few years ago, I was on tour with Dr. Maya Angelou and Susan Taylor of Essence Magazine, Gladys Knight, Queen Latifah, so many amazing African-American sheroes. And we traveled for 12 years, crisscrossing the nation. But there was one stop in Texas, and there were many vendors selling clothes. And they were Afrocentric with mud cloth like this. And I bought some of the items, and one lady stopped by and she said, "Where did you get that costume?" I said, "This is not a costume. This is a reflection of my culture." And I immediately went to my hotel room and a poem just flowed through me. And I want to share it with you because it's a poem about being proud of what I wear, proud of who I am, proud of my history, so that it is not erased, so it's not diminished, so it's not distorted. To celebrate. And this is why President Ford wanted to create Black History, because he knew this was part of the healing and the reconciliation for the nation. And so the poem goes like this: "I'm not giving up my greens or my grits, or saying, girl, and putting my hands on my hips. You see, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. And I'm not going to give up Rosa Parks, Fannie Lou Hamer, Mary McLeod Bethune, Sojourner Truth, Madam C.J. Walker, Toni Morrison, or Dr. Maya Angelou, because you see, I am a phenomenal woman. And I'm not going to give my Black back. I'm not going to give up my crown, my waves, my braids, my curls, my locks, my kinks, or my kente cloth. I'm not going to give up the mass choirs, the sounds of Blackness, Mahalia, Shirley Caesar, Kirk Franklin, or Aretha Franklin. I'm not going to give up going to Madeira's kitchen, eating peach cobbler or sweet potato pie, and hearing her ask me, "How you doing, baby?" I'm not going to give up you buy, we fry on Fridays, or barbecues on Saturday, or playing bid whist and slamming those dominoes. I'm not going to give up Harriet Tubman's train, Soul Train, Coal Train, or the Midnight Train to Georgia. I'm just not going to give my Black back. Now you can meet me at the function at the junction, but I'm still not going to give back B.B. King, the Whispers, Fancy Miss Nancy, Lena Horne, the Motown sound, or the Philadelphia sound, because like the Temptations sang, they said, it's the way we do the things that we do. Like building the pyramids that still stand, made by our forefathers' hands, where the diamonds and the oil and the silver and the gold are buried in our rich dark land. I'm not giving my black back. Oh, I'm happy being nappy with my wide hips and my wide nose, my rich melanin. I love putting lotion on my ashy skin. I love the skin that I'm in. And I won't deny or forget my ancestors who lay in a wet grave in the Middle Passage from slave trade. And I won't give up on our youth of today who still need a way made. You think I'm gonna give up Miles, even though he didn't smile? I can't give up Marvin Gaye, Richard Pryor, Phyllis Hyman, Billie Holiday or Billy Eckstine, Jackie Robinson or Jackie Wilson, Booker T. Washington or Denzel Washington, Nat Turner or Nat King Cole, Sugar Hill or Lauryn Hill, Joe Lewis or Louis Armstrong, Paul Robeson, Stevie Wonder, Kathy Hughes, Langston Hughes, Tavis Smiley, Harry Belafonte, Sidney Poitier. I just can't give my black back. I will not give up Alvin Alley, Bojangles, or Debbie Allen. You think I'm gonna give up reading my magazines? Some of them don't exist anymore, like Jet and Essen and Ebony and Black Enterprise and Upscale Magazine. Because you see, we are a colorful people. And like Curtis Mayfield sang, he said, we are a people that are darker than blue. We are honey. We are cinnamon. We're mahogany. We are chocolate. We are red fox. We are James Brown. We are Barry White. We are the mothers of the church dressed in white. We are the color purple and the lady who sings the blues. We are Al Green with love and happiness. Oh, I'm not giving my black back. Not even Maxine Waters, Martin, Megger, Malcolm, Mandela, Marley, Marcus, Muhammad Ali. I'm just not giving my black back. Thank you so much for this time to be able to celebrate a magnificent culture and history. And again, I thank you for your service. I thank you for your time. God bless you.
That was fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Jewell. I appreciate that. Any comments from the commissioners or any questions? I think we have a little bit of time for Dr. Jewell. Any questions? Okay, right on time.
Commissioner,
Commissioner Anderson, do you have a question, comment?
just a comment, apropos of Black History Month, the triple nickel was the all African-American airborne unit of World War II when they were still under Jim Crow segregated army. And they were not able to deploy overseas because of the army structures of the day. But on the West Coast, they innovated smoke jumping, putting out fires that were caused in the Pacific Northwest by balloon bombs that were floated by the Japanese. So their exploits are going to be commemorated on April 5th in Pendleton, Oregon, where they were based. And there will be a commemoration jump with members of the active 82nd Airborne Division in attendance.
Right on time.
Not as well known as the Tuskegee Airmen, but a very valorous and honorable group.
I feel like I just learned so much in the past 15 minutes. Thank you, both Dr. Jewell and Commissioner Anderson. I didn't know a lot of that. So thank you again for being here, and hopefully we'll get you the video and you can share it with your membership as well. Thank you. We'll move to the next agenda item. Vice, I'll ask you to take over the wheel while I introduce this topic, if you don't mind. Just moderate.
Number 5, right?
while the vice is getting ready to moderate me, you'll have a copy of recommendation number 5 in your packet, as well as an email that I'd like everyone to just read as well. It was a follow-up I had sent to the Department of Regional Planning after our briefing. And, I noticed in our presentation that there was some information that seemed a little redundant, so I asked for clarification. So the Department of Regional Planning provided some additional background, which I incorporated into the draft recommendation. So if you could all just take a moment to read that, because that content is in the draft form of the recommendation. For members of the public who aren't here or can't see the information or didn't attend the briefing last month, there was a briefing from the Department of Regional Planning that mentioned that Bob Hope Patriotic Hall was deemed eligible for the National Register in 1982 and again in 1994. And so the question that I asked was, well, can it be deemed eligible twice? Or are you just eligible the first time? And that's what this email from Regional Planning clarifies.
Madam Chair, do you need a motion on this recommendation?
Yes, so did everyone have a chance to read it? Is there any questions about it?
Yeah. But I think we need a motion and a second first.
I would be honored to make the motion that recommendation number 5 be adopted by this commission.
Motion for discussion.
With the motion, well, have to have a motion, then
Okay,
you can have discussion after you get a second.
thank you.
Do we have a
I
second?
second. the motion.
Now you can have your discussion.
So-
Robert.
Okay.
So you had some
No, I just
questions?
made a motion.
Okay, perfect. You have some
I
questions?
actually have no, I can love it,
No.
but that's me.
Okay.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Crooks. We have a second from Commissioner Jackson Kelly. So now we can get into the discussion. Okay. So I'll read it into the record. If we go to the next slide, members of the public online, you'll be able to, hopefully that's legible online, but I'm going to read it into the record and then we can discuss it some more as a body. So this is Los Angeles County Veterans Advisory Commission recommendation number 5. Whereas Patriotic Hall was dedicated by the County of Los Angeles Board of Supervisors in 1925 and began serving the public in 1926. Whereas on January 15th, 1976, Patriotic Hall was listed as a California Point of Historical Interest at the request of Los Angeles County. Whereas on September 15th, 1982, Patriotic Hall was determined eligible for listing on the National Register of Historic Places at the request of the Federal Highway Administration. Whereas according to state of California law, any building determined eligible for listing on the National Register of Historic Places is automatically added to the California Register of Historic Resources, the state's highest level of historical recognition. Whereas following the 1994 Northridge earthquake, the Federal Emergency Management Agency requested that the State Historic Preservation Office determine if repairs to Patriotic Hall would negatively impact the building's eligibility for listing in the National Register of Historic Places. No adverse impact was found. Whereas on November 12, 2004, Patriotic Hall was rededicated as Bob Hope Patriotic Hall. Whereas in order to list Bob Hope Patriotic Hall on the National Register of Historic Places, the county must provide consent as the applicant. The property must then be nominated by SHPO. Upon nomination from SHPO, the National Park Service will review the state's nomination and list the property on the National Register if deemed appropriate. This process may take approximately, there's an error there, approximately 5 to 12 months from start to finish. Whereas Bob Hope Patriotic Hall is also eligible for the county landmark designation upon a recommendation by the Landmarks Commission and consent of the Board of Supervisors. This process may take approximately 6 months from start to finish. Whereas on January 17th, 2024, the Veterans Advisory Commission received a briefing from the Department of Regional Planning on the administrative procedures required for buildings to receive historic status at the local, state, and federal level. And whereas in 2026, Bob Hope Patriotic Hall will celebrate its centennial anniversary in service to Los Angeles County's military veteran community. Therefore, be it resolved on February 21st, 2024, Los Angeles County Veterans Advisory Commission recommends that the County of Los Angeles Board of Supervisors adopt a motion in support of Bob Hope Patriotic Hall's nomination for placement on the National Register of Historic Places. In addition, the Veterans Advisory Commission recommends that the County of Los Angeles Board of Supervisors provide consent for Bob Hope Patriotic Hall to receive its county landmark designation upon referral from the Landmarks Commission. The Veterans Advisory Commission recommends that both actions are taken in time to recognize Bob Hope Patriotic Hall's placement on the National Register of Historic Places and county landmark designation status during its centennial year celebration in service to Los Angeles County's military veteran community. So in reading that, I annotated one error in the 7th paragraph. Should say may take approximately 5 to 12 months. So I'd like to make that edit, but I'll leave the discussion moderation to the vice chair.
Wonderful. Is there any questions or any additional comments or feedback or edit to the proposed recommendation? It's the approximately. In the 7th paragraph, it says it may take approximate 5 to 12. It should be approximately. The one above it, the paragraph above. But aside from that edit, or is there any content changes or questions or any other concerns, agreement? Okay. Well, with that, is there a recommendation? Yeah.
One more stylized change. The header, it has our initials, LAC, VAC, LACVAC, recommendation 5. In previous recommendations, we spell out Los Angeles County Veterans Advisory Commission. That was an error in my drafting. So I would like to make that request as well, that we spell out the official name of the commission. So those are the two edits that I would like to make. So at the header, you would see Los Angeles County Veterans Advisory Commission Recommendation 5, and then the grammatical fix for approximately.
So is there a motion
As amended.
to take the amended? No, we did the discussion, so the motion to proceed with the amended recommendation.
Include all the changes made, pointed out by the chair.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Crooks, Commissioner Crooks. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Chi. Then we have a second by Commissioner Chi to amend the motion with the recommendations by the chair for recommendation number 5. Can we do a roll call vote?
Chair Almond,
Yay.
Vice Chair McFadden,
Approve.
Commissioner Palmero,
Approved.
Commissioner Crooks,
Approve.
Commissioner Jackson Kelly,
Approve.
Commissioner Zato, Commissioner Gutierrez, Commissioner Anderson,
Approve.
Recommendation is adopted. Okay, so following this meeting, as we've done in the past, I will send out a DocuSign with the amendments included. So if we can just be mindful of that, we'll get the electronic signatures perhaps this evening, maybe tomorrow, and then we'll get this submitted to Commission Services. But we're not done yet. We have one more recommendation offered by Commissioner Noyola, who unfortunately could not be here. So I have asked the Vice Chair to introduce recommendation number 6. So we can move to the next slide, please. Now, Commissioner Jackson Kelly, I found these images online, so I think they are free. There are no copyright. This was in, I believe, the California American Legion article that was posted in March, I believe, which was a great article. Suggest everyone to go read it. I actually learned a lot about your military background and service to the veteran community. And so with that, I'll ask the Vice Chair to read the draft recommendation into the record. Oh, we need a motion. For the discussion.
I recommend discussion. I propose.
Motion.
Motion.
No, second.
The motion.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Palmero, a second by Commissioner Crooks.
So the recommendation number 6 is as follows. Whereas Patricia Jackson Kelly began her career as a nurse in 1964 and later joined the U.S. military in 1977. Whereas Patricia Jackson Kelly, a veteran who served in 3 separate branches of the military, including the U.S. Navy Reserve, Active Duty Air Force Reserve, and a member of the Army Reserve, retired as a lieutenant colonel in 2003. Whereas throughout her 26 years of military service, she made many extraordinary contributions in her advocacy for women across all branches of service in the military. Whereas serving as the president of the National Association of Black Military Women and as the Women Veteran Program Manager with the Department of Veteran Affairs, she has been instrumental in implementing programs, increasing funding, and expanding resources for female veterans. Whereas, through her self-sacrifice, courage, dedication, compassion, and honorable military service, She has safeguarded our heritage and freedom while providing valuable service and expertise to our veterans and has left an indelible impact on the future of Army women. Whereas Patricia Jackson Kelly has been selected for induction into the U.S. Army Women's Foundation Hall of Fame class of 2024 on March 21st, 2024. And whereas the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors is committed to honor and recognize the contribution and sacrifices of all veterans, including those who made the ultimate sacrifice to protect our state and country. Now, therefore, be it resolved on February 21st, 2024, the Veterans Advisory Commission recommends that the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors honor Lieutenant Colonel Patricia Jackson Kelly, retired, for her outstanding achievements and valuable contributions and distinguished service resulting in her induction into the U.S. Army Women's Foundation Hall of Fame. So I did make one edit for the retired part. But aside from that, is there any questions or additions you want to add to this wonderful recommendation?
Kelly is K-E-L-L-E-Y.
Okay. See another edit there. Same thing for the header. Should be Los Angeles County Veterans Advisory Commission spelled out just before recommendation number 6. So that's a formatting change. I have a correction to Lieutenant Colonel Patricia Jackson Kelly's last name, EY, and retired. The question I have for the retirement is how many branches of service do we have to put? Is it USA, comma, retired, USA, USN? I don't know how that works for so many people who have been in so many branches of just retired. USA retired. Okay. So you retire out of the last branch that you served in. I've never had that question before. Okay. So just to go over the edits, we have spelling the full name of the commission up top, just before recommendation number 6, correction of the commissioner's last name, and then parentheses USA RET period close parentheses. Is that preferred? Okay. Okay.
Visualizing it.
Okay. Do we have the motion as amended?
I changed my motion to accept the changes. Right, that's correct. Right. Yes.
Motion to,
Accept the changes, accept it with the changes.
okay.
Second.
Commissioner Palmero motions with the amendments. Commissioner Crooks seconds. Okay. Stephanie, can we do the roll call vote, please?
Chair Almond,
Approved.
Vice Chair McFadden,
Approved.
Commissioner Palmero,
Approved.
Commissioner Crooks,
Approved.
Commissioner Jackson Kelly,
Abstain.
Commissioner Zato,
Approved.
Commissioner Gutierrez, Commissioner Anderson,
Approve.
Okay. So that passes. Okay, great. So that's our first abstention in commission history. It's very wise. Very wise. Okay, well, unfortunately, Commissioner Noyola couldn't be here. I know he wanted, he worked on this and he wanted to be here, but unfortunately he couldn't make it. So we'll move on to the next agenda item, our department report. So we'll hand this over to Director Zenner. This department report is going to be a little bit different for the members of the public. In our notice of meeting, we have the full briefing. We've just asked the director to focus on one item, but I think he has some introductory remarks as well. So, Director, it's all yours.
Thank you. I'll make it as quick as possible. Just really quick for the commission and the public. Spent some time in DC. First part was working with Calvet as part of their research and surveillance team group that started meeting December 6th in regards to the governor's challenge to end veteran suicide. We really drilled down with the VA and took a look at how the data is collected. We're really focused on data collection and making sure it's accurate. And we're working with as many departments, both at the state and federal level as possible to get accurate data. So that was very productive. Next was the NACO Legislative Conference. LA County moved forward 2 resolutions, one around supporting legislation that requires the VA to integrate data from VBA into the annual VA suicide prevention report. We think that'll have a tremendous impact in learning how the work that we do as county VSOs works to prevent suicide amongst our veteran community. So that was really good. The other resolution was around justice involved veterans being able to support legislation that enhances on the federal level, that enhances data collection as well as provides funding opportunities for local government to implement veteran treatment courts or improve veteran treatment courts. In the last piece of my trip, I was in Sacramento, the California Association of County VSOs. We had elections, and Mr. David West from Nevada County was elected our next president. Mr. West and I have been working on a few other projects together. He's a friend of LA County and very excited for his election and to work with him and the state to advance our work as county VSOs. The highlight was we actually had at our association, we had both the chair of the Senate Military and Veteran Affairs Committee, Senator Archuleta, who was on this commission for 24 years. And then we also had the chair for the Assembly, Pilar Shivo, who represents the Santa Clarita Valley area, both at the event. And that's the first time that I've heard of where we've had both chairs of those committees. And we very much appreciate both of their support and their work to make sure veterans in LA County are taken care of. Also, we launched the Homeless Services Division. I won't get into it too much, but we're about to produce a quarterly report that really kind of gets into what that's about. It's not about duplication of services. It's more the VA and county and community partners have been doing great work around one team. And that investment is really to enhance what we're doing around veteran homelessness. And I think the highlight for county VSOs is it'll bring 4 staff to work as part of the case conferencing. So typically case conferencing is looking at, housing and services, benefits has not been a part of that conversation. Those staff will provide administrative support for the case conferencing as well as look for veterans that are being discussed as part of the case conferencing who needs access to a benefits officer. So we're very excited about that piece. And then I just, wanted to make sure that the commission had what you needed. I know we agreed last month on some issues as far as timeliness of slides and things like that. So just wanted to, if you didn't get what you need, please let me know during this meeting. And that's it.
I just, again, for the public's benefit, one of the changes that we made is we included the department slides in the notice of meeting so that the public can review that information. And then if they have any questions or concerns, they could bring those items to the meeting in the form of a public comment. And so I think it's just a way that the department and the commission can act in a way that provides the most transparency, in terms of how the department is functioning. So keep that in mind for the future. This is the first time that we've done that, so people may not have picked up on it, but all of that information, all of that reporting will be made available to the public in advance of our meetings. So there are a couple other things that we wanted to get to as well.
Yeah, if we could go to next slide, please. So it's really hard to see. I'm looking at both screens. And unfortunately that one's oh yeah. In your packets, because the chair is very prepared, you have a copy of our up-to-date org chart. The yellows indicate the vacancies. And just a reminder, we have 3 divisions. We have well, 4 divisions now. We have the building division, the administrative division, veteran services division, and now the homeless services division. We got approval to bring on 7 staff that are not indicated on this org chart yet. But as you can see, typically in the county, the supervisory control span is typically 10 supervisees per supervisor, and we are pretty much at the supervisorial span control. So taking a look at the org chart, we do have another, out of the 7 staff, 1 would be a supervisor and then 6 additional veteran service officers as part of the homeless service division to focus on some of the work that I briefly covered earlier. But with that, that is our most up-to-date org chart and where we're at as a department.
Thanks, Director. And the reason why I thought that this was important to sort of bring to everyone's attention, I think the Director has done a phenomenal job since you've been appointed by the Board of Supervisors in terms of growing this department. I think the department is growing faster than maybe it's ever grown in the past. I don't know. I've only been a commissioner for a few years, but really remarkable strides with Measure H funding and everything like that. What I am concerned about, and I think this is something that we as a commission should be talking about, is the organizational structure of this department ideal for the mission? And I think that this department historically has been very much focused on veteran benefits. I mean, that's what this department, I think, was initially created for. But I think if we look at the data, for example, if we look at the census data and we find that a vast majority of veterans in LA County are not service connected, that to me strikes me as there's a problem here, right? I mean, you could disagree, but I look at that data, I look at the census data, and I think, well, why are 82% of veterans in LA County non-service connected? Are they legitimately not service connected? They're just fine? Or maybe there's another issue where they weren't aware of their benefits, or they didn't know how to apply, or they applied and got denied and then said, you know what, I'm not going to deal with this. The other issue I see here, just in terms of the organizational structure that I wanted to bring up, is that this department is really heavily orientated toward the veteran community. But it's the Department of Military and Veteran Affairs. So I make the analogy that's like, for example, if beaches and harbors only looked at harbors and said, well, we kind of get to the beaches eventually. And so I think that we have to look deeper into the military community to develop a relationship with service members prior to becoming veterans. We know, again, it's a continuum, right? But the department, I think, needs to reach deeper into the DoD side of the house. And can this department be better structured to serve those functions? And I think, as I mentioned before, I think in more last month in my chair remarks, I really think that the future of this department is getting very much integrated at the point of transition and becoming the doorway to Los Angeles County, or the doorway home. And I think in the process of doing that, we'll see an expansion of claims. So it's about having a conversation with the service member when they come home, say, welcome home. How can we help you? It may not be disability claims on day 2. It may be, I need a job. It may be, I want to go to school, and, you know, those types of conversations. And then by developing a rapport with that individual, they may come back 3 months, 6 months, 2 years later and do either a disability claim or a CalVet waiver or something like that. So the reason why I mention it is that I don't think this organizational structure is ideal. I think we're missing half the community. And so I wanted to offer the next slide as some food for thought for discussion purposes. So here we have, you see the formation of 3 different directorates. So under the director, there would be, for example, potentially a deputy director for military affairs. And that deputy director would be primarily responsible for reaching out to the military side of the community through various programs. So I know that this department right now is currently doing the Los Angeles Veterans Orientation, but there are other programs that I think this department would like to do beyond that. For example, SkillBridge, ETS sponsorship. The other big thing is discharge upgrades. That is not a VA function. That is a DoD function. And as well as outreach. You know, one of the things I talk about is, you know, if you're stationed on an active duty base, your community is right there. But if you're a guard or reserve, right, you're kind of out there. And could this department have a function of integrating all of the various guard and reserve units to create a cohesive identity or community for the military veteran community that's right here in LA County? That's an outreach function. You know, we have this basketball court. Why aren't the units having a tournament every year, playing each other? That type of welcoming of the military community into this building, I think, will have positive benefits for this department moving forward. So then we go to the Deputy Director of Veteran Affairs, and this is what I would consider to be our traditional line of business, right? The benefits. We have the new homeless division, the justice involved division. One other category, you know, given my background, is student veterans. You know, reaching out to the different student veteran groups throughout LA County, and of course, additional outreach. And then the third directorate being headquarters. I think a lot of us, you know, are familiar with this terminology, but all of the backbone services required to keep this department running, to keep the lights on, whether administrative and HR, building, IT, budget, finance, public affairs. So in my mind, these are sort of a description of the various roles and responsibilities under 3 different directorates. And then the next slide is a little bit taking the information that was provided in the org chart and breaking it out into sort of like a staffing. How do you staff those functions? And so again, we would see the Deputy Director of Military Affairs and the Deputy Director of Veteran Affairs share a executive secretary. Why? Why not the Deputy Director of Headquarters? Well, they have an outreach function that the Deputy Director of Headquarters wouldn't necessarily have. So there's going to be a lot more scheduling involved for, you know, and that's why the director has an executive secretary. If we look under the Deputy Director of Veteran Affairs, we see it broken down into different sections, which is probably familiar to a lot of us given our military experience. Right now, these sections are broken essentially into a supervisory district format. So, you know, first district section, second district section, third, fourth, fifth. I could probably see additional sections just for the Homeless Services Division or the Justice Involved Division. But how do you structure this under a chain of command that I think makes a little bit more sense? And then obviously we have the Deputy Director for Headquarters, you have your administrative division, your building division, IT, finance, public affairs. So I mocked this up only for discussion purposes. And to really talk about how do you think this organization should be structured to achieve the mission? And what is the mission? And that's why I wanted to reserve not only this meeting, but next meeting to have just a fireside chat. Do you think we do need to make changes, or do you think the current organizational structure is fine? Commissioner Palmero.
I appreciate so much that you're thinking about this and that you're looking at this and how to divide it. Although I'm not 100% in agreement with how you divvied it up, I appreciate so much the discussion. We've often had these discussions about, especially when we look at service members, service connection, it is so much and preventing suicide, death by suicide. It is so important to be proactive over being reactive, because when you're proactive, you get to write the narrative. You get to be more in control and empowered to be able to do something and to affect change. So I'm totally, I really totally agree that having that section would be really, really important. I would appreciate being able to have more discussion and being able to develop it. But I really do see the need and the benefits to being able to have a present, and then a forward thinking, right? Like those are the three sections I'm looking at. So I appreciate you going and putting in this effort and even bringing up this discussion, because at the end of the day, our job here, our desire, our passion is to affect veterans' lives, to better veterans' lives. I am going to say I'm not also in agreement about having to have everyone service connect. Not everyone's service connected, right? Not everyone is in need of that. And all we can do is make sure that we're present, that the information is present in all these different areas. I've spoken on more than one occasion about ensuring that there's representation of veterans services at in areas such as, applying for AFDC, applying for Medi-Cal, applying, all these different places that we're already developing or are already present, making sure that we have that presence there and that awareness there for people who are in need, who are not even aware that these services exist. That's fantastic. But I really would caution to say that everyone that comes out of the military is in need of, of service connection or of those services. But to be at least to bring the water to the people, I think it's necessary and important by having presence, but also understanding that maybe people don't want water. They want Diet Coke. I don't know. Having that option.
I agree. I didn't mean to, I don't know if I said that or mean to suggest, I don't think everyone coming out of the service has a service connected disability. I don't think it should be 100%. But in looking at the census data, it seemed really high for non-service connection. And I wonder, if the department was structured in such a way that isn't, hi, we're the Department of Military and Veteran Affairs. Do you want to file a service-connected disability claim? What if it was a different introduction? How about, we're the Department of Military and Veteran Affairs. Welcome home. How can we help you? That's a different conversation. And I think that the department historically has been structured to the previous, saying, hey, we're the department. Do you want to file a claim? 20 years old, 24 years old, you're like, I don't know what that is. I'm fine. Thank you.
Right.
I need a job. I need to go to school. I need housing. I need, all these other things.
And I also think it's so necessary, again, in order to properly and most effectively impact the veteran community at the beginning, those first 90 days are so essential, is to develop that relationship with the DoD, have a better relationship, because it seems like there's a lot of, I don't know if it's isolation or segregation or just, being at odds. Let's work together, because we do more work and we do better when we work together. So that's another area that I think that is very important that you did point out. And I would love to be able to explore that and to do what we can to develop a better relationship with the DoD.
I'd like to just offer a little bit of information. So VPN and VA partnered with USC to be available as they're doing outreach, instead of just counting veteran or individuals that are homeless, actually provide a service to them as they're counting. And throughout that process, they've identified 28 veterans and offered service to all 28 of them. However, 5 of them were Reserve and National Guard that are currently on our streets that were found. And so, you know, Reserve and National Guard who aren't eligible for a lot of the VA stuff are out on our streets. I think we already knew that, but now there's numbers. There's, you know, more than 1/6 of every service member or veteran that was encountered was a reservist or National Guardsman or woman. Another piece is 19%, a recent USC study that looked at the 3 counties, Orange County, San Diego, and LA County, surveyed close to 3,200 veterans. 19% of them were housing unstable as they were getting out of the military. So that's really, you know, looking at military affairs, looking at getting out in front of the problem is a county priority. We're very focused on prevention. Military side of the house is the ultimate prevention opportunity that we have. And then to the point of the low service connection rates, while 18% are service connected, over 30% are disabled. So out of, you know, you have to have incurred this service connected disability or had it exacerbated as a result of your military service. So getting from 18 to 30%, I don't know how many of those 12% their injury was incurred or exacerbated by military service, but that's just a little bit more information as part of your discussion.
Yeah, Commissioner Allman and Director, I'd like to offer, I find time and again as I'm encountering veterans who are not enrolled for VA benefits, it really is an absence of awareness. But speaking to the active military end of it, you know, in Los Angeles County, we have the LA Air Force Base. We don't have kind of the major military installations like Edwards Air Force Base or 29 Palms or Camp Pendleton, but we do have so many active military who come from Los Angeles County. And it's my memory on return from Iraq, hard to believe 20 years ago now, but that there was not an active component asking those very questions that you're framing, Commissioner and Director Zenner. How can we help you? And to have people, particularly as they're rotating back from deployments from places like Los Alamitos, that really would be a function of useful outreach, I think, and would speak to the military affairs end of it and the early transition capture.
Thanks, Commissioner. The one thing I wanted to point out here in the org chart is that there's nobody under a Deputy Director of Military Affairs, because I think it's that Deputy Director's job to go out and meet with all of the commanders and to formulate what that strategy looks like. So we don't know what rests under the Deputy Director yet. We don't even have that role. I'm just having the conversation of, should we even have that role? Should we, you know, not today, not tomorrow, not next meeting, but could we think about different organizational structures? It doesn't necessarily need to be in PowerPoint. You know, people want to write it on a napkin and take a picture of it, and we could talk about it. And then maybe we come together and develop a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors on something that we can all get behind, or just a more general recommendation that there should be an organizational review of the department. I only offer this as a talking point.
Commissioner Crooks. I like the way some of the things you've done. You brought up the idea about the military review point is something that's, yeah. But one of the things I think we're forgetting, you correct me if I'm wrong, besides just claims for the federal government, they're also doing benefits for federal, state, all the state benefits are also being discussed with people that come in that need that information. So it's not just the VA. Remember, it's all entitled. That's number one. Number two, I'm sorry, I'm looking at yours and it's wrong. I'm gonna tell you why it's wrong. Because you have your chief deputy who should actually, in my viewpoint, after 37 years in the county of Los Angeles, be directly underneath the director than everybody else underneath them. Where you actually have them over basically in your, I'm gonna call it headquarters staff. But in actuality, the chief deputy should actually, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that if you're not here, that is the person that runs this department. So it's not really, I don't see that correctly on there. The idea that you put forth about the military component, love it, because it's still, but the problem is trying to establish that. I know Calvet's been trying to do it for years. They came up with the CalTAP and that's as far as they've gotten, literally. I mean, every time they try something, but it's very, very difficult. You know, and I noticed that you only had one person there. I could see maybe a couple more, but that one, not, I mean, it would take a while for that to establish themselves and see what they can do. But you're right. You know, one of the things in across the board, the things the department should be saying first. How are you? You're a veteran. Can we help you? That's very first. That you want to put a claim in, you know, do you have a place to stay? What can we do to help you? And correct me if that, I don't know if that's what's being done. I can only tell you my interactions with some of your staff, that's what they do, more or less. But, and you have to, I'm gonna leave that up to the director to talk about that.
Yeah, no, you're right, Commissioner. Been intentional about why the chief deputy is not directly under me so far.
Because you don't have one.
But yeah, we have an acting chief deputy, Miss Santana, who's been doing a really bang up job. But there's a lot of administrative work that has to be done. And so she doesn't have the bandwidth to oversee veteran services as part of it. And then, I mean, she's really getting pulled into like writing grants and doing a lot of that stuff. So we're
Okay.
not, as we right side our administrative division, we just can't afford to, you know, structure it the way it typically is supposed to be structured in the county, but that is correct.
Will there be somebody eventually at the level, not even of chief deputy, of like admin deputy, that's more technically inclined to be over all of those people that you need to have that technical? I mean, you have it, but that's unusual, I'm gonna tell you. In the county department, for director.
Can
to
you
have
use the mic?
technical
Can you use
knowledge-
mic?
I'm sorry, the county department for director to have technical knowledge is almost unheard of.
The one point I want to make here is that the department currently has one slotted chief deputy, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah. The conversation I want to have is how many deputies does the director need to accomplish the mission? And I don't think it's one, I think it's
More.
3.
At least.
That's my
Yeah.
opinion, you know, it's for discussion, you know, purposes, but I think Commissioner Zeta wants to say something.
Thanks, Chair, for stealing my point. As always, I think I'll just make 3 real quick observations. One is, as the Chair said, you know, what does the director need to accomplish his mission? Because he can't clone himself. And we know he's out there by himself, running himself ragged, and we want to see him get the help that he needs. I would say, as we see at the federal level, it's too late by the time to get to the VA. Right, we know this. We have to stay left of bang, and we know DoD does not care about transition because it's not their priority. And so we need to figure out ways to integrate with DoD, because by the time they transition, it's too late. And we all know this. It's not an argument. So, and you know, I think what's important for me about this organizational chart, besides making sure the director has what he needs, is honestly, this what I see here tells me the importance of veterans to our board of supervisors. End of story. We have, even with the drop in veterans, still more veterans in our county than 13 states. I look at our budget. These are all telling things, and I think that I hope that we can work with everybody, work with the director to support him. and figure out ways to show veterans that this is a priority for our county. And I think that's really the bottom line here for me. However it's structured, however it looks, whatever pictures we have, I want to feel that veterans and military service members and their families are a priority for this county. And we all know FTE and budget is a huge part of that. So thanks, Chair.
I think put to both of your points, prior to running into the fire and dealing with DOD and, saying, hey, we need to have more coverage in this transition space, I think this department needs to gear up for that fight. And that's why this conversation about organizational structure is important, because before we send the department to go take care of that task, we want to make sure that the director and the department are right-sized, are staffed for that mission. And that is honestly going to require, I think, not only a recommendation from us, but active conversations with our deputies to explain this issue, because it will require more resources. And that's why I think this conversation is most appropriate at the commission level. So with that, I think, again, this is just an appetizer, a starter discussion. I hope next meeting we can maybe hear your suggestions. If you want to bring in any slides, please let Stephanie know. We'll get them into the deck. Or if you want to, if you want to do it on a piece of paper, just take a picture of it. Or any other thoughts. But what do you think about reserving another, 15, 20, 30 minutes to talk about this next meeting? What do you think? Yeah.
Yes, that would be my, for future agenda items, that would be my proposal.
Okay. Well,
We have a copy of the other, this slide and the other slide.
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. I'll send you the PowerPoint version. So if you want to play with it. Yeah. Okay.
And I'm really sorry, I forgot as part of my updates, I didn't write it down earlier, but we had a visit from Metro. We had the artist and two Metro staff come out, showed myself and Miss Santana the drawing. And it looked like, from my perspective, that a lot of the feedback that I heard at the commission meeting several months ago was integrated into the drawing. There was a lot of history that was incorporated. I could tell that the artist and Metro spent a lot of time in the archives. They were allotted access to the archives at the West LA VA as well as the Bandini family. I asked them to return to the commission meeting to present that. And so hopefully we can fit that in the agenda next month so that you guys can weigh in on, the changes in the art and the Metro side of the house.
Given that that was our most popular, well-attended meeting, I think that we should absolutely have Metro back. And I think we'll have more public comments. But I think that that's what our commission is here for, to provide a forum for bringing things to the veterans community. So I'm all in agreement with that. We'll move to agenda item 11 and items for future meetings. I think we're going to continue our discussion regarding organizational structure to the vice chair or Commissioner Anderson. We'll continue to have this conversation. Vice Chair, I'll get you the documentation, or I'll get the commission, everyone here, documentation. I think that that's almost going to cover the next meeting between the Metro presentation. We also have to get to our art project, our logo that we've been working on. I think between those three things, that's really a full lid. Can you
Now we're the good of the order.
Is it a
And that-
request for
to
next meeting
change-
or?
Yeah, to change the bylaws.
Well, let's hear back from Commission Services because I think that that's going to create either a very large revision to the bylaws or a small one. So I want to table the bylaws amendments until after we hear back from Commission Services. Is that okay?
Okay, do you want me to at least describe what I'm asking? for?
Sure.
Basically, to change the date of the meeting. Either the Tuesday or Thursday, but not the third Wednesday. There is no way, if I do the third Wednesday, I will be absent every other meeting. Because that's when my board meets, for the Calvet board. Yeah, so if it's
What's more
possible,
important?
the state of the county, really, do you really want me to choose?
Yeah, so I know this is something that has been brought up before. So I think, we can absolutely, factor that in. But let's get to it after we hear back
Okay,
from
that-
Commission Services.
That's fine.
So any other items for future meetings, not necessarily next meeting, but beyond that? Commissioner Anderson, you're online. Do you have anything?
No, that was, mine is to continue the discussion on the role of the military end of Military and Veterans Affairs.
Okay. We'll move to the good of the order. Commissioner Palmero. Or Commissioner Crooks, either one.
Oh, good of the order. I do have one more thing.
Okay.
I want to apologize to the commission. Apparently just before the last board meeting, like 2 days before, I was notified by supervisor for the first district that I was to be given a scroll from the board for Black History Month. Unfortunately, the director wasn't here, but your wonderful acting chief deputy was, who joined me at the board meeting. And then I thank you, but I could not, there was not enough, like you said, get enough time to get things out. They barely had enough time to get somebody down there. So, so consequently, it was very, very difficult. So I want to apologize. I don't want you all to think that I neglected to let the board know. But I found out I think it was the Friday before the board meeting. And then that's when, and then they said, oh, by the way, do you know? And I'm like, really? You guys knew how long in advance? Because how long does it take to fill out a scroll? So, yes.
Okay. Before we get into
Thank
that,
you,
Commissioner Palmero,
Kelly.
go to the order.
Hi, I just wanted to thank Military Veterans Affairs, the support of our acting deputy, Miss Santana, and the support of Mr. Zenner. We recently had a Valentine's Day luncheon for veteran women. The target was 30. We had 28 in attendance, veteran women. And the importance is that I am so proud to be in this county. I am so proud to be part and representing SD1 in this commission, but also presently in our veteran community, because we are able to have veterans that feel seen and feel appreciated and feel valued for their service. And so I continue to find ways and I've continued to get support from so many different organizations to be able to do that and make sure that our veteran women know that how valuable they are, how valuable their service is, and how important they are. So I just want to thank the department and just thank everyone who was in attendance. Thank you, Commissioner Kelly, who always comes out to my events. So that's it.
Commissioner Jackson Kelly, anything?
Yes.
Let's use the mic. So
I just want to say that I did attend that event and I was really impressed with the caliber of presentations that were given at the event. They had someone who has an expertise in clothing who was there, and the women were very excited about that. It was a great, great event. I also attended the memorial service for Corporal Lena King, who was one of the 6 888 members. She passed away. The lady that you hear me talk about so often that lived in Vegas. She passed away 17 days before her 101st birthday. This service was absolutely beautiful. And I do have a program, and I forgot to bring it today. I was rushing, but I will bring it and share it with you because it's memorable.
Vice Chair McFadden.
Nothing.
I have nothing to add. I guess one thing, we do have a pending commissioner from the 3rd district, so we will have eventually seated my co-pilot, sorry, Vice Chair McFadden. He'll be removed. Commissioner Loyola is not here today. Commissioner Zato.
I just want to mention that Supervisor Hahn is having a veteran town hall, March 13th. This is a Wednesday at 6 o'clock. It'll be at the American Gold Star Manor, which is in Long Beach. So I'm sure there'll be information coming out from the county, but just want to have people in the South Bay area and Long Beach area aware of these events.
Well, you give it to Debbie so she can send it out, please. Okay.
Commissioner, go ahead.
Nothing on my end.
Okay, and Commissioner Anderson, go to the order.
Yes, briefly, 3 things. One is I would like to thank Director Zenner and the VPAN representatives who are doing good work and ever expanding work out in our end of North Los Angeles County in the 5th district. We needed this, and they're present, and they're doing the work. So that's one. The other was apropos of Commissioner Jackson Kelly. I was able to attend the memorial service for Palmer Andrews, our 98-year-old World War II Marine who participated in the campaigns on Peleliu and Okinawa. So if you saw the Pacific, and what a fright show that was, that he survived a long life, good family, and a great legacy. Palmer Andrews, our Marine up in the Antelope Valley, hats off. So the third is, it would always be my preference not to attend by the Teams meeting, but I'm grateful for the Teams meeting. I said at the end of the year that I made a compassionate relocation to the state of Washington, although I spend a couple of weeks out of the month both living and working in the Antelope Valley, doing the work that I've been doing for the last 10 years or for the last 40 years, respectively, at some point interacting and trying to help veterans. So I know that my deputy was Supervisor Barger, Roberto Alvarez, who is a great deputy, is in active search, and I hope he's going to locate our own establishment of the criteria is someone who, like members of this commission, wants to help the mental health of veterans, to help the active participation of veterans in achieving the benefits that they've been awarded, and who also has plenty of military experience and even in the 9/11 generation. So that's where I hope they're going to land, and I have hopes that they will. Meanwhile, I appreciate the opportunity that even if I can't drive down to Bob Hope Hall, that what the commission does, I think, is very important. So I thank you for the opportunity to be here until my replacement is named.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. I'm looking at you on the screen here, but to talk to you, I have to go over here. So maybe in the future we can try to line that up. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.